How are you this morning?
Yes.
The sun is out.
Yes.
The frost is gone. Yeah. So we arranged all this, especially for you. I'm starting a new series today, and it's going to be based on Hebrews chapter 11, but the theme and the text is taken from Hebrews 12, verse 1 to 3. So I'm going to hover around Hebrews 12, 1 to 3 and Hebrews chapter 11. So if you would like to, when you get back home, read Hebrews 11, read the first 3 verses of Hebrews 12, and you probably get an idea where we're headed through this series. I've entitled my message this morning, Head in the Clouds, Feet on the Ground. Right? So, look, head in the clouds has a negative connotation to it, you know? Because usually somebody with a head in the clouds are just useless to us, right? But there's a cloud that I want us to put our heads in. And that's the cloud of witnesses that the Hebrew author is speaking about. So this series is about a life of faith. And I want to journey with you, and we probably take about 6 or 7 messages around this life of faith. And I'll start it off today. Next week we'll take a break, and then we'll pick it up again the following week. And we're going to look at some of these great heroes of the faith in chapter 11. And we're going to look at them because the Bible in chapter 12 is instructing us to look at their lives. And so we're going to look at this. So let me take you to Hebrews chapter 12 verse 1. If you pull out your inserts and then you'll be able to follow me as I go through my text this morning. I'm just going to look at the first line of Hebrews chapter 12 verse 1 this morning. Therefore, we also, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses. This phrase, so great a cloud of witnesses. This morning, I want to look at this phrase, cloud of witnesses, right? And I'm asking this question, who were they? What did their faith look like? And then, in 2 weeks' time, we're going to ask this question, how did they practice their faith? So this morning, we're going to look at who were they and what did their faith look like, right? So here we are, looking at this group of people. If you look at Hebrews chapter 11, you look at names that the Hebrews author has brought out, right? Some of them he calls them by name, some of them he just identifies their experiences and the miracles that they experienced, all right? So you'll see in chapter 11, he talks about Abel, Enoch, Noah, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Joseph, Moses, right? And then he moves on to talk about, he says, I put no time, I could talk about so many others, right? But he says, look, some of them, then he starts talking about the miraculous experiences that they experienced, right? Subdued kingdoms, worked righteousness, obtained promises, stopped the mouths of lions, quenched the violence of fire, escaped the edge of the sword, out of weakness were made strong, became valiant in battle, turned to flight the armies of aliens. And so he goes through this whole list of these names of people, right? Just human beings who did extraordinary things for God. But in between, in chapter 11, he starts throwing out their theology, their understanding, their ideas of God, right? And so that's what we're going to do in this series. We're not just going to look at their lives. We're going to look at what produced that kind of a lifestyle. You know, how could somebody, just a mere human being, going through stuff that we all go through, right? And how did he go beyond that? How did she go beyond that and experience the supernatural? And that's why you see in chapter 12, after he goes through this amazing hall of fame, faith giants, all right? He then stops and he says, therefore. And whenever you see the Bible, that word therefore, you got to ask, why is it therefore? Therefore, all right, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses. He's saying, every day in the morning when you wake up, all right, we hope that it's a clear sky. But I want to tell you, as a Christian, we hope we are reminded of the cloud that surrounds us. And this cloud is a cloud of witnesses. And it's these names of these great men and women of faith who are urging us, who are inviting us, who are whispering to us through their lifestyle, saying, come, do what I did, experience what I experienced. And so that's the invitation this morning to all of us. We want to ask, who are they? Well, we've looked at them. We looked at all their names. And the problem with looking at giants of the faith is, we'll say, oh yeah, but that was them. You think of Abraham and you say, oh yeah, but that was Abraham. He was such a righteous man. You know, I can't be like Abraham. Or you think of Joseph, oh, look at what he went through, you know, oh, what an amazing man. Or you look at Sarah and you think, oh, what an amazing woman. Right? But all of them were mere human beings. We think of Elijah, right? And you think of the experiences that Elijah had, the miracles that Elijah had. Then you say, yeah, but that was only Elijah. Not true. Elisha will take on Elijah and say to God, I want twice as many miracles. I want 2 times his experiences. And guess what? He experienced it. He experienced that. I say, oh, but that's Elijah and Elisha, right? But Hebrews 12 says, now that you know this whole group of people that surround you and say, you can do it because I experienced it, the invitation is to say, if Abraham had that, I want it too. If Joseph had that, I want that too. If Samson could get up from his brokenness and then see the miracle again, I want that too. The invitation is, when you see this wonderful cloud of witnesses, it is therefore, since you know that they are there, what are you going to do about that? So that's what we want to look at this morning. I want to say this, all right, that these were not supernatural men and women. They didn't have superpowers. They were just like you and me. In fact, James burst that bubble when he was talking about Elijah. He says, Elijah was just like you and me, having all the weaknesses like you and me. That means when he woke up in the morning, his back probably ached. And he thought, man, I don't need this morning, right? He went hungry. He had lack, right? He went into the ATM machine and it came out and nothing there. But he experienced God, right? The difference was, all these men and women, they had one thing in common: faith. And that's why in Hebrews chapter 11, you see, by faith Abraham did this. By faith Sarah did this. By faith, by faith, by faith, by faith. One thing that was different, that made them different and separated them from the rest of the world, was their faith. Not their goodness of their heart, not their righteousness, not that they came from good stock, right? The one thing that separated them from everyone else was their faith in God. So I want to take you to Hebrews chapter 11 and verse 1 to 3. We'll hover around a couple of lines there this morning, and then we'll pick it up in 2 weeks' time. So Hebrews 11, 1 to 3, and that's in your bulletins. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. For by it, meaning by faith, the elders obtained a good testimony. By faith, the elders obtained a good testimony. So he's saying to us, you know how they got this testimony? Now the word testimony is the same Greek word, material, is the same Greek word in chapter 12, which is translated witnesses. So what he's saying is, by faith, they got hold of their witness. They were witnesses. They joined this group of people who were the cloud of witnesses, not because of who they were or what they did. It was because of the faith they had in God. By faith, the elders obtained a good witness. Right? So, first things first, let me say this morning. The cloud of witnesses, they were people of faith. They lived by faith. and they practiced their faith. They were who they were because of their faith. So the first thing I want to encourage us this morning to do is choose faith. Every morning when we wake up, no matter what we're experiencing, no matter that backache, that pain in the leg, that I understand that too sometimes. Not as much as you, but I'm getting there. I've got this massive tooth problem, you know. Once it's arranged, in a few weeks' time, you'll be seeing me without teeth, 3 front teeth for a couple of weeks. I'm dreading that. Imagine the stories that you guys are going to tell me, the jokes that are going to come out. And I don't know how to preach without teeth. So I'll get some lessons. So I'm saying to us, the first point I'm making is, let's choose faith on a daily basis. Let's choose to live by faith. That's what the cloud of witnesses are calling us to do. Choose faith. Second point is this first line in Hebrews 11, 1-3. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. I'm going to dwell with these two things this morning. Right? Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Let's pick up the first point. Faith is the substance of things hoped for. Right? That means faith gives substance to your hope. I like what NLT says. Faith shows the reality of what we hope for. That means faith shines a light on your hope and helps you experience what you're hoping for. That without hope, faith cannot exist. Let me repeat that. Without hope, faith cannot exist. Faith grows in an environment of hope. Hopelessness chokes faith out. That's why I keep on encouraging us all. Do hope together. Remember I talked about hope and I said hope is something we do. It's not something we have. Right? Nobody is born with hope. You do hope together. When you are discouraged, right? Don't sit in the discouragement. As long as you sit and think and talk about that discouraging experience, you're going to get into this sinking feeling of hopelessness. So what do? You pick up the phone. You catch hold of somebody who's got hope and you do hope with them. You talk to them and say, pray for me. And as they're praying for you, they are doing hope with you. You talk, you listen to the testimonies. Somebody comes up here and says, oh, I was praying and the Lord healed me. Right? Don't go around saying, well, God loves him but not me. Or God loves her better than me. No, you say, if it can happen to her, it can happen to me. You create hope through the testimonies you hear. You put yourself in situations and an environment where hope can increase. Because where hope is, faith will thrive. Is this making sense to somebody?
Yes.
Without hope, faith cannot exist. Because faith makes hope a reality. Rena did so wonderful last week, didn't she? I love her to bits. I get this every day. She talks to me, she creates hope and increases hope. We do hope together. She was telling us about the story of HIV Hope, right? The ministry that we started back in Malaysia. Now, the second family that came into that home was a Hindu woman with a little child. Well, she wasn't little, she was about 11 to 12 years old. Now, she came in and she had full-blown AIDS. The difference between living with HIV, the virus, and full-blown AIDS is it goes by your CD4 count. She had no CD4 count. In other words, her immune system was not traceable. It didn't exist anymore. The virus had killed her immune system, right? She was just bones with skin covering it. She was thin, right? And they brought her to our place because her family out of ignorance, right, didn't know what the virus was about. They parked her in a dark room, and all they would do every day, they'll open the door, leave the food, and shut the door, right? And in her heart as a mother, she was wondering where was her child, what was happening to her child. So this Christian organization visited her and heard about our home. So they brought her and her child to our home. And the next morning, you know what Rina would do? She'd make some soup, and she just fed her teaspoon after teaspoon, all right? Praying with her, reading scriptures to her, and just spending that day with her. 3 days later, she stands up, she goes and starts cooking for the rest of the family that were living in the home. Today, our dear Jay is still ministering unto the Lord. Of course, she became a Christian. That's assumed. You come into our home, you will become a Christian. You know why? Amen. Because the love of God that's shed abroad, you will encounter Him, right? And you will believe. So she became a Christian, but this is the story. She came in with a CD4 count of 0, right? Today, her immune system is normal like every one of us. She's still living with the virus, right? But she's living, she was given another week to live when she came into our house. She's still living today. She's a peer counselor and ministers to people with the virus in the HIV ward in the hospital in Kuala Lumpur. What was it that changed her? Hope. Hope. That's why we call our home HIV Hope. Because where hope is, faith can exist. And so we did hope with every one of them who came to our home. But you know what? Hope also helped us. So here we were. We saw the immense work that we had to do. And here's the God-sized vision that God gives to us. And there's little old me and little wife of mine, right? These two of us. What can we do? No money, right? No finances, right? What can we do? But we believe, because we've caught hold of God's vision. And we are believing this thing, all right? And so we had a little hope. And then this woman comes. And then the miracle happens. And she lives. Not only lives and she thrives. What happens is faith that we are believing in, all right, shines a light on that little hope that we caught hold of, right? And that hope is now experienced by us. And when we experience that hope, hope increases in our lives. And then we have more hope. You know what happens when you have more hope? You have more faith. As your hope increases, your faith increases as well. I'm calling you to create an environment of hope in your home, an environment of hope in this church, an environment of hope among your friends and your relatives. Create that environment of hope, because where hope is, faith will thrive.
Amen.
Is this making sense to somebody? Let's do hope together. Faith makes hope experiential. Hopelessness quenches faith, but hope creates an environment for faith. So do hope together, and faith will make your hope experiential. The second thing we learn in this line that we just read, right? He says faith is the substance of things hoped for, but faith is also the evidence of things not seen. Let me dwell on this a little bit more. Faith is the evidence of things not seen. This is our biggest problem when we come to faith. Our eyes deceive us. We look at reality only with our eyes. What we see is real. What cannot be seen is unreal, right? But the author of Hebrews is inviting us to see how these men and women of faith live their lives. He's saying that they had this mindset in them, that faith is the evidence of things not seen. The message says this: faith, right? It's our handle on what we can't see. You cannot see, but by faith you can grab a hold of it. What you're believing for, by faith you can grab a hold of it, right? You know, we live our lives with the 5 senses. See, hear, touch, smell, taste. If you can't hear it, it doesn't exist. If you can't see it, it doesn't exist. If you can't touch, smell, taste it, it doesn't exist, right? But let me tell you, there's this research, and I came across it and I thought it's fascinating. Right? It's called the McGurk effect. If you got Google, go Google this thing. It's got in YouTube, right? You'll see this, all right? This person starts saying ba, 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 right? And then he changes and starts saying fa, 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 fa. So you hear first ba, 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 and then you hear fa, 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 fa. Then they explain to us, actually, the video changed, but the audio remained the same. So you were watching a person say ba, 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 and change to fa, fa, fa. But they didn't change the audio. Throughout that, you were still actually hearing ba, ba, ba. Because they didn't change the audio. It was ba, ba, ba all along. But because your eyes saw the person change and saying fa, so your eyes didn't register. So there was a conflict between what you saw and what you hear. And you know what happens all the time with your brain? Your brain chooses what you see as what is real. And so you are seeing him say fa, fa, fa. So you decide he is saying fa, fa, fa. And you literally hear fa, fa, fa. But actually the audio sound is ba, ba, ba. Isn't that fascinating? Now I hear this thing he's telling me, and then they play it again. I am still, even though I have the knowledge that the audio is still ba, 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 when he changes and says fa, 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 I'm still hearing fa, fa, fa. Even though I know the audio is ba, ba, ba. Because my brain refuses to shift. Even though my brain knows that the audio is ba, 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 but because my eyes are seeing him shift his lips, right? The video is changing, so the eye decides what you hear. I find that very fascinating. Because let me tell you, we are hearing about faith. We are hearing and reading about these clouds of witnesses. But when you wake up in the morning, even though the sound is still ba, ba, ba in the spirit world, you are seeing fa, 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 and so you believe fa, fa, fa. Do you know what I'm saying? That means even though you know that God can do it, even though all the scriptures tell you you can live by faith, but then because your eyes see a reality, you believe that reality. So I'm saying this. Faith takes us beyond the mirage of the visible to the reality of the invisible. That's what faith can do for us. Faith can take us beyond what we are seeing in the natural and give us the ability to see in the supernatural. These stories, I'm going to remind you about the ba, 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 fa, fa, fa. Because let me tell you something. When you wake up in the morning tomorrow, you wake up and you choose faith, then I'm suggesting to you, don't let what you see interrupt what you believe. Don't let what you are observing in the circumstances around you to disrupt what you are believing God. Don't let what you see disrupt the miracle you're hoping for. Don't let what you see interrupt the prayer of faith that you are praying. Because your brain may decide it's fa, 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 but you know it is ba, ba, ba. If God has promised you something, you know that God never lies. And if He's promised it, it will come to pass. Even though my eyes see that the circumstances around me is not coming to pass, even though my eyes decide and tell my brain it's not going to come to pass, and my brain tells my emotions and I'm feeling down because it's not coming to pass, but you go beyond it by faith and you tell yourself it will come to pass because God has promised it. That's what the cloud of witnesses are there for. To remind you that there's a mirage that we see every day. Our eyes are deceiving us into believing that what we see is a reality. But in the spirit realm, something else is happening for you and me. Prayer shifts and changes the unseen, the invisible. And so it's time for us to believe and look beyond the visible and start believing in the supernatural. Is that making sense to us this morning? So I'm saying this. If you look at Hebrews 11:16, I'm going to bring this to a close. Hebrews 11:16. But now they, speaking about these witnesses again, but now they desire a better, that is a heavenly country. Therefore God is not ashamed to be called their God, for he has prepared a city for them. So you know what they did? They were looking at this place, their world around them, but they were not believing that this is the real world, because God had promised them a better place. And so if I'm sick, I believe God has promised me a better situation for me to be well. And so I begin to believe for my miracle. I begin to believe for my healing. If there is finances that is an issue, you begin to believe for that miracle. Even though the world around you and your world says that you're in financial difficulty, you begin to pray into that situation. All right? You begin to say, ba, 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 even though you're seeing fa, fa, fa. I'll tell you about the mirage of the visible, and then I'll close. Sometimes we hang on to the visible so much that it becomes our reality, you know. Money is one good example. Health is another good example. Having employment is another good example. We believe, oh, I've got money in the bank, so the more money in the bank, I'm secure. But you know what? Money in the bank doesn't give you security. It is God who will give us security, right? I'll give you a little story. I go to India often, regularly. The last 2 years I haven't been going. So, for the past 2 years I've been having 2,000 rupees in my hands. It's a few 500 notes and a $1,000 note, all right? Now, 2,000 rupees, if you know anything about it, it's about 30 bucks, right? But I had this, and usually I have these 500 notes and 1,000 notes, because when a pastor comes to see me and I'm praying for them, I'd like to just slip in something. 500 rupees will carry them through the week for the family, you know? And so here I am having this loose change with me as I come back. For 2 years, it's there, because the next trip I go, I can still use the money, right? Wrong. Because last year, end of last year, the Indian government, right, demonetized the $500 note and the $1,000 note. That means the $500 rupee and the $1,000 rupee is worthless. Now, for me, I just lost 30 bucks. But imagine those who were just keeping that, and that was their security. And if they had millions of $500 notes and millions of $1,000 notes and keeping it, and every morning they wake up and say, thank God I'm secure, right? 2016 November, the entire security would be gone down the drain. That's the mirage of this world. What we see is not necessarily real, right? And so the invitation to us really is to look beyond this world and the mirage of the world. The invitation is to put our heads in the cloud of witnesses. Look how they lived their lives. And this is how they lived their lives. They chose faith. They didn't walk by sight. They chose faith. And they walked their journey in with God by faith. And the second thing they did was that they created this environment of hope. And through that environment of hope, all right, they saw beyond the mirage of what is seen. And God was able to show them what cannot be seen. They saw beyond the visible into the invisible. And that's how they experience the supernatural. I'm going to unpack these things as we go on these next few weeks. And I'm hoping, and this is my hope in my heart, that this beautiful congregation of people, right, Sunday after Sunday, we will believe for the miraculous. That people will come here and they will encounter God. You know what happens when you encounter God? Lives change. Things shift, right? You see miracles. Whenever Jesus walked into a village, whenever Jesus walked into a town, that village was never the same again. Am I right? Read your Gospels and you will see. And you know what? Jesus hasn't changed. So my prayer is Sunday after Sunday that God, I know He is present among us, right? And I'm praying that we will begin, every one of us, start walking by faith. So this is my invitation for you for this week. When you wake up every morning, choose the life of faith. And the second thing I'm encouraging you to do is create the environment of hope on a daily basis, right? Live in an environment of hope. Do hope together. And move beyond the mirage of the scene and begin to ask God to give you the eyes of faith, that you are able to see beyond the visible and start seeing what God has for you. That beautiful promises of God that is about to happen in all our lives. Is that okay? Amen. Amen.